Welcome to The Blue Dot, Northern Kentucky's premier political podcast, brought to you by the Kenton County Democratic Executive Committee. Welcome back to The Blue Dot podcast for our weekly roundup, where we are bringing you all the news you need to know in 10 minutes or less.
Well, Natalie, maybe we should change that opener from all the news you need to know to all the news that you may be able to handle.
Right?
As usual, there's so much going on, but we're going to do the best we can to highlight the most egregious, the most impactful, and the most downright crazy stuff that is happening this week. So here we go.
All right, let's do it. Let's start out with some news from the Bluegrass. There's a special election here in Kentucky next Tuesday, December 16th, where Louisville native Gary Clemens will be a Democratic candidate for Kentucky State Senate District 37. He's a veteran of the U.S. Army Reserves and the president of the United Steelworkers, Local 1693. So excited to see him in there.
Yeah, a great candidate. And the December 16th election is being held to replace former state senator David Yates, a Democrat from Louisville. Yates was recently sworn in as Jefferson County clerk after the September 10th death of Bobby Holzclaw, leaving the seat open. So this is one to keep your eye on next week.
Yeah, and speaking of special elections, the Democrats continued their winning streak this week, where we saw Eileen Higgins win the Miami mayor's race. This is the first time a Democrat has won the seat in nearly 30 years, beating out the Trump-backed candidate by 19 points.
It's amazing. She garnered nearly 60% of the votes in the election. The Republican candidate was backed by the MAGA trifecta of Trump, Rick Scott, and Ron DeSantis. I can't imagine why he lost.
You're right. Goodness.
But seriously, you have a candidate endorsed by three of a party's high-profile and influential leaders, and the candidate loses an office held by the party for nearly 30 years by double digits. Changes, they are a-coming.
They sure are. And if you need further proof, you can just go next door to Georgia, where Democrats flipped the House seat by double digits again in a pro-Trump Republican gerrymandered district. So good stuff.
Yeah, that's a stunning upset. I believe this gerrymandering may backfire on the Republican. Right. Lots of news out there that's agreeing with that. And it looks like Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't the only one to see the writing on the wall in Georgia. I think we should be ready to see more like this.
Yeah, she's out there rewriting history, which is fine. We can let her do her thing. But it's not going to change the fact that American people were sort of lie. And they're starting to realize that Trump is doing everything he can to tell people how great everything is. He had this super bizarre affordability rally in Pennsylvania. I don't know if you saw that this week.
I tried not to.
Yeah, he did the usual affordability is a hoax and all of that good stuff. But then he derailed that whole message because he veered off into like mega fantasy land and he started airing his grievance against immigrants again and all this crazy stuff. It's so old and tired. And I'm not even talking about Trump on that one.
Yes, everything is just fine. Yet this week, Trump announced a $12 billion farmer bailout to ease some of the burden felt by Trump's tariffs. Farmers from all across the country are saying, one, it isn't enough, and two, they don't want a bailout. They want an open and free market to sell their products.
And you know what? There's a catch to that bailout, as there always is. So those payments that are supposed to go out in February of next year, 2026, they're actually capped at $155,000 per farm. And if you put that into perspective, just in Kentucky, farmers faced losses ranging from $1 to $2 million per farm. And that's according to Kentucky Agricultural Commissioner Jonathan Schell.
Yeah, that's a pittance against what the losses are. It's almost a slap in the face. And farmers describe the situation as death by 1,000 cuts, with tariffs adding to already rising costs for fertilizer, pesticides, and equipment. And one final note on the farm bailout. Trump said in his announcement that the funding was coming from money the administration has taken in from, you guessed it, tariffs.
My goodness, you can't make it up. Can't make it up. But you know what? It's all a hoax. It's all a hoax.
It's a hoax.
And you know what? The funny thing is the same thing happened in his first term. He bankrupted farmers due to tariffs and then enacted a $23 billion bailout. And those two bailouts that we just had for farmers equals the amount that was budgeted for USAID funding. So just to put all that into perspective.
Okay, that makes me sick.
Yeah, I know, right?
The problem this time is that the Chinese are better prepared. They built up relationships with other countries and had a really easy pivot to dealing with them instead.
Oh my gosh, and it's worked. So in the first 11 months of this year, Chinese exports increased 5.4%. Sounds kind of low until you realize that that translates into 3.4 trillion with the T dollars. And they've amassed a trade surplus of over $1 trillion. And that's even with the U.S. tariffs at 37%.
In more global news on Wednesday, Pete Hegseth continued his Pirates of the Caribbean reboot by seizing a tanker off the coast of Venezuela. Trump was quoted as saying, "We've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large, largest one ever, actually, and other things are happening."
What's that mean? The largest tanker ever. But why? Why? Is my question.
Well, it appears the seizure could signal intensifying efforts to go after Venezuela's oil, the country's main source of revenue. However, the administration is saying that it has something to do with the oil being bound for Iran.
Okay, well, give that man a peace prize, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's crazy. We're blowing up the small boats, but yet we can seize and capture a massive oil tanker. Well, finally, Congress seems to be evolving into a semi-vertebrate species and put into its proposed annual Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, a section that places a 25% cut on Pete Hegseth's travel expense budget if he refuses to release videos of all attacks on alleged drug boats to the Armed Forces committees in the House and the Senate.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. And speaking of attacks, this week, Trump wasn't only attacking sovereign nations, defenseless boaters, and oil tankers. He was quite busy verbally abusing female reporters every chance he got, especially when asked about the drug boats or really anything else that matters.
Yeah, let's see. He called the various women who dared to ask him legitimate questions obnoxious, terrible reporter, piggy, stupid, nasty, and ugly, both inside and out. And that was just in the last week or so.
Yeah, it's so misogynistic. It's so insecure and definitely not presidential. And honestly, I don't understand for the life of me how we're allowing it to happen, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've given up on Trump ever doing the presidential thing, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's just not going to happen. But you pointed out that we're seeing a lot of cracks in the party. We're seeing cracks in MAGA and in his base, but hasn't made it to the Supreme Court yet. On Tuesday, the court heard arguments filed by J.D. Vance to lift the cap on how much political parties may spend in coordination with candidates, as if Citizens United didn't already allow for more greed and corruption in elections. And after 2 hours of oral arguments this week, there were little clues to just how the justices would rule. However, in a rare moment of clarity, Justice Kavanaugh, a conservative, said he's concerned about the arguments from opponents who said lifting the caps just might encourage corruption. Just might.
Okay, yeah. If Kavanaugh joins MTG and Massey as right-wingers that I suddenly agree with, we are really in an upside-down world.
Let's pivot to healthcare. As we previously discussed, the ACA subsidies are set to expire. And on Wednesday, Democrats in the Senate held a forum to discuss their plan to extend the tax credits. Republicans also discussed their plan. However, they came up with nothing. After a closed-door meeting, Ralph Norman, a Republican and a member of the Conservative Freedom Caucus, emerged with his best master of the obvious response, stating the consensus is we need to come up with something.
I think that's progress, considering it's the GOP.
I mean, right? Exactly.
Well, remember when Trump said he'd have a healthcare plan in 2 weeks back in 2016?
Right.
But hang on, he's still working on stopping the Ukraine-Russia war and lowering food prices in 1 day. In Trump world, 2 weeks, as he always says, is really 2 decades, I guess.
Oh my goodness, exactly. And then we have one more ridiculous update of the day. In another move that does nothing productive to help the American worker, Marco Rubio ordered the State Department to change the official State Department memo font from Calibri back to Times New Roman, citing that the other is too DEI, whatever that means.
Calibri or Calibri, I didn't look up how to pronounce it, but it's my favorite font, by the way. So I think that speaks for itself because I guess I'm DEI and woke. But that and other sans serif fonts are widely recommended because they are easy to read for people with visual impairment and disabilities, such as low vision and dyslexia, making life a little easier for people. whether it be something as simple as reading or buying groceries. Republicans seem to be against it.
I mean, of all the things and the money that I can't. But thankfully, we have real leaders like Governor Beshear. And this week,
Yay.
Governor Beshear began his term as the chair of the Democratic Governors Association and immediately went to work putting together a blue wave blueprint. His message is really simple. We have to be laser focused on people's everyday concerns. Everybody wants the economy of tomorrow, but paying the bills is crucial today.
That's right. I love that statement. I mean, we have to address current demands.
Yeah. And, the Beshear administration's record just continues to show that when Democrats get elected, they govern really, really well.
Yeah, Beshear has really proven that Democrats can win in red states by focusing on what matters to families. So, congratulations, Governor, on beginning your term as chair of the DGA. Kentucky is behind you.
Absolutely. Congrats to Governor Beshear. And we are so proud to have him represent and fight for us. And with that, we'll conclude your Blue Dot Weekly Roundup, where the news is fast and the facts are free. Until next time, stay curious, keep the facts in focus, never stop fighting for what matters. Peace out, everybody.